Sergeant Mac Macmillan grinned. Another Thursday, another intergalactic war to crash, and one more time to see some old friends. He slapped the armrest of his drop seat as the familiar whine of atmospheric entry intensified around them. His team, Kilo Squad, barely registered the complaint, their focus already on the mission briefing shimmering on their HUDs. It wasn't just any war, of course. This was a rescue, a partnership. And if Mac was being honest, a chance to show off a little for their favorite four-armed allies. Their target, Xylos Prime, a core world of the Xylosian Commonwealth, currently enduring an unprovoked assault from the Cathar, a race whose tactical genius was inversely proportional to their hygiene. The Xylosians, renowned for their intricate crystalline cities and even more intricate bureaucracy, were perfectly capable warriors. But even the best sometimes needed a little human-shaped sledgehammer to break a siege. "All right, listen up," Mac's voice crackled over the comms, cutting through the growing vibrations of the dropship's descent. "Intel says the Cathar have pushed the Zalosians back to the inner defensive perimeter. We're dropping behind enemy lines, linking up with Captain Rylos's unit. And then we're going to remind these overgrown space roaches why you don't mess with a species that invented both democracy and the high-explosive grenade." A chorus of grunts followed Mac's speech. Lieutenant Ava Sharp, Kilo Squad's tactical genius, and the quiet force keeping Mac from accidentally instigating a galactic incident, adjusted her comms. "Mac, remind them that showing off doesn't involve unnecessary structural damage to Xylosian property. They charge us for that." Mac grinned, a flash of white teeth under his grizzled beard. "Relax, Sharp, just enough damage to make a point. Besides, Rylos owes me a new poker set after last time." The dropship lurched, the viewscreen momentarily flickering with distorted images of the fiery atmosphere outside. Inside, the gravity compensators hummed, keeping the heavily armored soldiers relatively comfortable. They were a motley crew, Kilo Squad. There was Mac, the seasoned veteran with more scars than memories of a peaceful childhood. Sharp, who was basically a tactical supercomputer. Specialist Doc Rodriguez, the medic who could stitch a wound faster than a spacebar brawl could start. And then there was Miller, whose enthusiasm was both endearing and occasionally terrifying. As the dropship stabilized, the comms chirped. A familiar multitonal voice, layered with a distinct Zalosian trill, came through. "Greetings, Kilo Squad. Captain Rylos of the Zalosian 7th Crystal Guard, reporting in. Took you long enough. Were you waiting for an engraved invitation?" Mac chuckled, punching the transmit button. "Rylos, you old crystal head, just making a fashionably late entrance. Wouldn't want to steal all your thunder now, would we? Besides, we had to stop for snacks. Galactic travel makes me peckish." Rylos's laugh was a series of resonant clicks and chimes. "Always the jester, Mac, though I did warn my unit about your unique sense of humor. They are bracing themselves for your arrival. We are currently holding position at Grid 7 Delta, approximately 5 clicks from your predicted drop zone. The Cathar are thick on the ground here, pressing hard, and they've brought their new heavy plasma cannons." Sharp's voice cut in, crisp and professional. "Understood, Captain Rylos. We'll rendezvous at 7 Delta. Estimated time to link up, 15 minutes, assuming optimal engagement. Any specific Cathar units we should prioritize on approach?" "Their forward command element is operating out of a repurposed mining facility, 2 clicks east of 7 Delta," Rylos replied, the trill in his voice becoming more pronounced, indicating a touch of frustration. "They've been particularly irritating. Their commander, a particularly odious individual named Grack, has a tendency to monologue. We've been forced to listen for the past 2 cycles." Mac's grin widened. "Say no more, Rylos. Consider Grack's monologue privileges officially revoked. We'll give him something else to talk about." The dropship shuddered again, the rear ramp beginning to lower, revealing a blurry, smoke-filled landscape. The air, thin and metallic, rushed in. Xylos Prime was a world of towering, crystalline formations, now scarred by plasma fire and the ugly, utilitarian structures of the Cathar. Explosions blossomed in the distance, casting an eerie glow on the battlefield. "All right, team," Mac barked, his voice suddenly serious, all trace of humor gone. "Remember your training. We hit fast, we hit hard, and we make these Cathar wish they'd stayed in their swampy little sector. Doc, you're on Miller. Sharp, you've got point. Let's roll." With a synchronized surge of adrenaline, Kilo Squad poured out of the dropship, their power armor thudding against the alien ground. Laser fire zipped past, and the crackle of energy weapons filled the air. They were immediately in the thick of it, Cathar soldiers, multi-limbed and clad in segmented armor, swarming towards them. Sharp's energy rifle sang. a precise beam carving a path through the enemy ranks. Doc Rodriguez moved with practiced ease, laying down suppressive fire with his auto shotgun while keeping a watchful eye on Miller, who was already engaging with an almost reckless abandon. Mac, wielding a heavy plasma cannon, unleashed a volley that vaporized a cluster of Cathar, sending sizzling scrap flying. He chuckled darkly. Just getting warmed up, boys. Rilo's better have a good story to tell after this. As they advanced, making quick work of the initial Cathar resistance, the landscape began to shift. The pristine crystal spires of Xylo's prime were increasingly giving way to the crude, metal-reinforced bunkers and trenches dug by the invaders. The air grew thick with the acrid scent of burnt plasma and something vaguely resembling stale swamp water, a Cathar signature. Contact, multiple hostiles, 20 meters front. Sharp's voice cut through the comms. Heavy support, looks like two of their modified siege walkers. Two hulking, spider-like machines emerged from the smoke, their plasma cannons glowing ominously. Their multi-jointed legs scuttled across the broken terrain, each step shaking the ground. Well, isn't that just precious? Mac quipped, hefting his plasma cannon. Looks like someone brought their pet oversized beetles to the party. Miller, wanna try out that new anti-armor round? Miller, a wide grin on his face despite the incoming fire, didn't need to be told twice. He knelt, locking his heavy pulse rifle onto the nearest walker, and fired. The round hit with a sickening crunch, blowing a chunk out of the walker's leg, sending it lurching sideways. Nice shot, Doc yelled, providing covering fire as Miller adjusted for another. The other walker returned fire, a searing plasma bolt impacting near Mac. He grunted, adjusting his aim. All right, let's show these overgrown scrap heaps what a real siege looks like. Just as Mac was about to unleash another volley, a series of precisely aimed energy lances lanced out from a flank, striking the same walker Miller had hit, causing it to finally collapse with a metallic shriek. From behind a shattered crystal formation, a unit of Xylosian soldiers emerged, their multi-jointed limbs moving with fluid grace, their crystalline armor shimmering. At their head was Captain Rylos, his four eyes gleaming. Took you long enough, Mac, Rylos chirped, his voice echoing over the comms, a clear note of amusement. Were you having trouble with those oversized beetles? I thought humans were supposed to be the masters of brute force, Mac grinned, shaking his head. Rylos, you always show up just when I'm about to pull off something truly spectacular. You just ruined my grand entrance. Nonsense, Rylos countered, his mandibles clicking. I simply enhanced it. Think of it as collaborative spectacle. Now, shall we proceed to silence Grack before he manages to bore us all to death with his tactical brilliance? With the two units linked, the combined force pushed forward with renewed vigor. The Xylosians, with their agile movements and precise energy weapons, complemented Kilo Squad's heavier firepower and aggressive tactics perfectly. They moved through the Cathar lines like a well-oiled machine, each species anticipating the other's moves with a practiced ease born of shared battles. They soon reached the repurposed mining facility, a brutalist metal edifice that now served as the Cathar forward command. Heavy plasma fire streamed from its fortified positions. Looks cozy, Doc muttered, laying down suppressive fire from behind a reinforced barricade. Rylos, you said Grack likes to monologue, right? Mac asked, a mischievous glint in his eyes. Indeed, Rylos replied, firing a burst of energy lances that disabled a Cathar heavy weapon emplacement. It is a particularly annoying trait. Good, Mac said, hefting a breaching charge, because I'm about to give him a very captive audience. Sharp, Miller, cover me, Rylos, keep their heads down. Mac sprinted towards the main entrance of the facility, dodging incoming fire with surprising agility for a man of his bulk. He slapped the breaching charge onto the reinforced door, ducking back just as it detonated with a deafening roar, tearing a gaping hole in the entrance. Inside, the facility was a hive of activity. Cathar soldiers scrambled, their multifaceted eyes wide with surprise. At the center of the command center, a particularly large and ornate Cathar, undoubtedly Grack, turned, his mandibles working furiously. Intruders, you dare, Grack began, his voice a guttural roar just as Mac stepped through the smoke, his plasma cannon pointed directly at the Cathar commander. Grack, is it? Mac boomed, his voice amplified by his helmet's external speakers. Sergeant Mac Macmillan, Earth Defense Force. And before you start another one of your boring speeches, let me save you some breath. You're losing. Your hygiene is terrible. And frankly, your interior decorating skills are an affront to all sentient life. Also, Rilo says you owe him 3 cycles of interest on those late battle reports. Grack stared, momentarily stunned into silence by the sheer audacity of the human's interruption. This was not how glorious battlefield addresses were supposed to go. Rylos's voice, tinged with a distinct Xylosian laugh chime, crackled over the comms. Magnificent, Mac. You even remembered the interest. The Cathar in the command center, momentarily frozen by their commander's indignity, suddenly erupted into action. Laser fire crisscrossed the room. Kilo's squad, along with Rylos's Xylosians, poured into the breach. The battle inside the command center was a furious close-quarters affair. Mac waded through the Cathar, his plasma cannon making short work of anyone foolish enough to get in his way. Sharp moved with surgical precision, disabling consoles and key personnel. Doc kept Miller patched up, while Miller, still grinning, managed to disable a tactical display with a well-aimed shot. Grack, having recovered from his shock, let out a frustrated roar and lunged at Mac, brandishing a ceremonial energy blade. Mac met him with a heavy thud of his power-armored fist, sending the Cathar commander stumbling back. Now, Grack, Mac chided, dodging another clumsy swing. Violence isn't the answer. Unless, of course, the question is, how do we get you to stop talking? With a final, expertly placed shot from Mac's plasma cannon, Grack's ceremonial blade sputtered and died, the hilt melting in his hand. The Cathar commander stood there, defeated, his multifaceted eyes finally losing their arrogant gleam. The remaining Cathar resistance in the command center quickly surrendered. Silence, broken only by the distant sounds of battle still raging outside, fell over the room. Rylos entered, surveying the scene with his 4 eyes. Well done, Kilo Squad. And Mac, I must admit, your negotiation tactics are truly unique. Mac shrugged, holstering his weapon. Just wanted to make sure he got the message. And hey, now we don't have to listen to him anymore. He turned to Grack, who was being cuffed by a Xylosian soldier. Next time, try a podcast. Less collateral damage. With Grack's command center neutralized, the Cathar forces on Xylos Prime quickly lost cohesion. Their leadership crippled, their morale shattered. They either surrendered or fled, leaving behind a trail of abandoned equipment and a very annoyed Grack. A few cycles later, back on a neutral station, Mac found himself sitting across from Rylos at a card table. You know, Mac, Rylo said, expertly shuffling the crystalline cards with 2 of his 4 hands. My superiors were rather impressed with your decisive action, though they did question the wisdom of telling a Cathar commander that his interior decorating was an affront to sentient life. Mac chuckled, picking up his hand. Hey, it worked, didn't it? Besides, they really did have terrible taste, and those 3 cycles of interest, pure genius, if I do say so myself. Rylos let out his resonant laugh. Indeed. Though I believe you now owe me a particularly strong blend of Terran coffee, we can call it even for your enhanced entrance. Mac grinned. Deal, but only if you promise to learn a new joke for our next war. Yours are getting a little predictable. Rylos's mandibles clicked in amusement. Challenge accepted, my friend. Now let us see if your poker face is as impressive as your battlefield theatrics. The game began, 2 vastly different species, now bound by shared humor and the enduring camaraderie of war, ready for whatever the galaxy threw at them next.